Okay.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Me, Chantelle, your hostess with the mostest awesome guests and viewers, of course. And I have with me again the gorgeous Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress, whatever you choose to be named. I think the Cryptid Huntress is pretty cool. So I'll just say the Cryptid Huntress with me again here this evening. And it's my last night in Swakopmund and my second last night in Namibia. So I've just come at the end of a really busy, amazing trip. Of course, I love being here. It's really, really cool. Spent some awesome time in the desert on the weekend. So really great to be here and see everybody again. Anyway, and welcome to everyone in the chats. It's so good to see you, the girl in the gong, Jojo, Lisa D, and of course the Cryptid Hunters, Kyle, everybody. So good to see you. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm super excited, Jessica, to have you on again. Because, as I said, it's my last night here, and I couldn't think of having a better guest than you, actually. And I love our topic as well. So I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us this evening.
Well, thank you,
beautiful lady, and welcome. So good to have you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I look forward to this every other week. One of the highlights of my week. It is. And I'm so excited. I've been watching your travels online from Facebook, and those singing rocks. What is up with those singing rocks?
Isn't that amazing? This is I keep telling you guys, Namibia is just, I mean, it's the place my heart calls home for sure. And it has got, it's a part of the Namib Desert and the Kalahari Desert meet here. And it's incredible. You can actually see the Kalahari, the sand is very, very red, and the Namib, it's more golden. And there's this, if you travel by road, and there's a place that you travel past, and you'll see the two sands exactly meet in the middle, and it never changes. And it is just incredible. So it is an amazing place. But that place, there's a place here just outside Swakopmund called the Moon Valley. And the Moon Valley is really like the moon landscape. If you look at those pictures and videos and stuff, you will see in the background, that's the landscape. It's incredible. And in just one area, there are rocks that sing. But it's like not everyone even knows about it, right? So, but more and more people are getting to know about it now. But just in the one place. So you go there and you literally, you take a smaller rock and you beat it on the rock and it sings, and they're all different as well. And I mean, it's just incredible. So yeah, I spent my weekend clanging on singing rocks like a kid on a xylophone, you know.
You know, it's really cool because it sounds like a bell. When you hit it, it sounds like it's made of metal. It doesn't sound like a rock at all. It's so odd. And it kind of reminded me of what I've been told the moon sounds like. They say that the moon sounds like a bell when you hit it like that. And it makes me wonder if there's some kind of connection between that rock, those rocks, and the moon.
And yeah, because the place is called the Moon Valley. And you know that the Moon Valley forms part of Earth's original crust. So it's of the most ancient. I mean, you go in there and then there's another part where they've got the rock people, and you just see how the rocks are shaped. They look exactly like people, giants, yeah, absolutely. And it's just incredible. It's amazing. So yeah, I just feel restored. What can I say?
I love it. You look restored. You look absolutely vibrant once again. You always look vibrant, but gosh, these past two shows we've done together, I just can't get over how like extremely vibrant you are. You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do
And
you. What
happy.
can I say?
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
So, yeah, I want to hear. I mean, I know we've spoken a little bit in the past about the celebrity doubles, I think, the shapeshifters, cursed objects. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's amazing. So I'm so looking forward to hearing about what you have to say.
okay. Well, we'll talk briefly about the celebrity clones. Okay, because that was something that threw me for a loop the other night. I had a good friend of mine he's actually of hip hop royalty back in the day, back in the 1990s. He was in a group called Leaders of the New School, and his name's Dinko. And we've been friends for almost 20 years. We've been friends, and we used to run the streets of Atlanta together. Okay, we used to have a lot of fun when we were, almost 20 years ago, and so he came on my show. Actually, we were talking about the Stranger Things of New York. He's from New York.
Oh, wow.
He's still an artist. He's still very much into the hip hop community, still rapping and all that kind of stuff. But he's on more of a solo career now. But he was in a group with Busta Rhymes and Charlie Brown, and who else? Milo, a guy named Milo. And so very well known. They were on all sorts of TV shows like In Living Color and Arsenio Hall show, and very popular shows here in the United States back then. Wow. And I remember when I met him, I didn't even know who he was. We just became good friends. And it wasn't until later down the road I realized, oh, that's that guy. This is Dingo. I've been watching him since I was a kid. So he came on the show. We were going to talk about like the Montauk Project up in New York, Bigfoot in New York. We were going to talk about a bunch of cryptids, things that he doesn't normally talk about. He doesn't really know. He doesn't know a lot about Bigfoot, but he wants to go Bigfooting with me one day, he said. Wow. And so we came on. Well, conversation started off kind of cool. We're talking about Bigfoot and, MK Ultra mind control and things. And I knew that him being in the music industry for as long as he's been, since the 1980s, he knows a little something about the celebrity cloning, maybe even the underworld of all of that. And so, of course, I had to ask him some questions. Okay.
Of course you did. And I'm so happy because I'm sure you're going to spill the tea for us, right?
I am. And shout out to Dinko. I don't know if he's watching any of my shows. I'm sure he watches some of my shows, but he opened up way more than I expected. I didn't expect it. And I asked him before the show, I was like, hey, before we go live, is it okay if I ask you about clones? I just went down the list, right? And he said, yeah, ask me anything. And I was like, oh, okay. So I asked him about clones and, clonade. We got into the topic of the MK Ultra and the mind control first. And he was pretty candid about that. He said, yeah, it definitely happens. And I asked about the clones, and he said, well, it's really weird. My group, he's like, it's even when people in my own group, you realize they've been cloned. I was like, what? And he said, yeah. He was like, we had a reunion a couple of years ago, last year sometime. He said, it's pretty recent. So we had a reunion, and it's pretty crazy when your own people in your own group are not the same people they used to be.
But how did he know? I'm interested to know that, because my understanding is the clone is still it's a homunculus, right? So it's like they make it from whatever they make it from. But then what spirit? There has to be some type of a soul in there. So I'm wondering, how do they know that there is a clone? What is the difference?
What he said, I did not push him too far because I didn't want to make him uncomfortable and to clam up. Okay, so I was gentle with the questions, but I did press on a little bit, and he said that he wasn't the same person, and I could tell that he was in deep thought, and so that's when I kind of tried to. I was like, I changed the subject a little bit, but he did reiterate, not the same person, they're different. I know, and I'm pretty sure I know he didn't specify which person, but one of the guys in his group did go on to a very lucrative and successful solo career immediately. after leaving their band. And yeah, I don't know, I hate saying this, but he might be on those tapes or, you know, and implicated in some of this scandal that's going on right now, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the freak off.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know for sure, but his name comes up a lot. So, and I'm not talking about Dinko. I'm talking about somebody in his group. So, but yeah, he was very stern. Like, yeah, he believes that one of the guys in his band had been cloned. Okay. And he did specify it was because he wasn't the same person. And when I said clone, or like clone, what do you mean? And he's like, cloned. And I said, well, by any means, do not go to Antarctica, is what I told him. Because, you know, I've had conversations with, I think it was Nick Sylvester, a good friend of mine, who's in the Truther movement. I believe it was him. He was telling me that that's where the big celebrities are actually taken to Antarctica. They have a big cloning facility there. And some of the bigger names, politicians. Okay, because I think we've gotten on the conversation of like Buzz Aldrin going down there. You and I talked about that, where he went down. He had a medical emergency, and they said that he said that something was evil. There was something very evil down there, and I was told there's a cloning facility there. Okay, so I joked with Dinko. I was like, just don't go. If you get offered a trip to Antarctica, don't go. Okay, they're gonna clone you.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that Princess Catherine also had a medical emergency and then came back this different person? I mean, there's no ways that that's her. I'm sorry. It's not her.
I don't think that's her either. You know, that's wild because Bryce gave me a target. It was a blind remote viewing target. Bryce gave me a target of Princess, of her. It was her when she went missing after she had some kind of medical emergency. And she and I and Tamara had a show together where they revealed to me what the target was. And it was, is it Princess Kate, right? That's her name. And yeah. And so I think that, so in that data, somebody was being held against their will.
Yes.
Like I was actually making contact with her. She was being held against her will somewhere. And it was almost like she was chained down somewhere and they wouldn't let her out. Like a prisoner. Yeah. So
it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, do you think she's still alive though?
At that time I did. Yeah. At that time, I did at that moment. Now I don't know what's happened since, but the person they're parading out, I don't think that's her. It might be a clone. I think she's had some body doubles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not her. There's no ways that that's her. I mean, it's everything about her is different. The whole energy is different. So yeah, and just all these physical differences. Yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
You can tell. And I would think with my friend who was on my show, they grew up together from childhood, from what I understand, him and his bandmates, and he would know. He would know. And it's not, he just kept saying it's just not the same person. It's not. Wow. You know, and it kind of reminds me of those stories of what is it, like the Fae? There's something called like a changeling. You know what I mean? Yes. Where they would come and swap out babies, and it would actually be an old troll or something that would pretend to be a human baby. And you'd look at it and it's like, well, it looks like my kid, but it's not my kid. There's something different. You know, you can tell. And especially if a mother knows.
Oh yeah, for sure. A mother definitely knows. It's very interesting that though. Wow. So if they, for example, I mean, once they take these people and they clone them, what do they do to the originals, the original blueprint? I mean, do they get unalived? Did he say? He
did not say. I seem to have had more information on cloning than he did. Okay.
Right.
So he just knew, he had the experience. And so I'm not sure now. A lot of times we hear that artists die. Okay, like they either, you know, overdose or they have something that happens to them. Oh, you know, it's the music industry, they say, makes more money off of them after they're gone than they do when they're alive. Okay,
yeah,
but it's also Yeah, and it's also kind of odd that, and I was asking him too, I was like, well, what do you think about Tupac coming back around and being alive today? And he said, well, he and Tupac were buddies. Like they used to tour together because he was in Lawns, Leaders of the New School, and then Digital Underground is the name of the group that Tupac used to be in. He was one of their dancers and one of their performers there in that band, in that group back in the 90s. And so they went on tour together. So he was like, that's my boy. Like that, and he did not seem to think, he didn't know. He didn't know either way. He thought, in his mind, he died back in 1997 or 96. I can't remember. Maybe it was before that. I was in high school. I'll never forget when he died, but I just don't know I don't remember the year. But to him, he thought he died, but he was like, but it's always a possibility, because there's actually videos in concerts of this guy who looks exactly like Tupac, who's a famous rapper, one of the most famous rappers of the 90s. And he's actually in a group called Jurassic 5 now. There's a guy who looks exactly like him. It's his doppelganger, for sure. And his hand movements were the same, his body movements were the same, but he just had dreadlocks. And it's like he's in disguise. Okay. Now, is it him? I don't know for sure. Okay, I don't know. Nobody knows. But it seems like a lot of celebrities that we mourned over their deaths are coming back today.
That's insane. And this is why I put Elizabeth's question up there, because it's like, do you think celebrities knowingly go to Antarctica to be cloned, or do they, that's what I was saying, do they get unalived, or what the heck happens to them? Because that's the original blueprint from which the clone is created, right? Is the original body, obviously. So,
my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. The people that have been going up to Antarctica or down to Antarctica are people like John Kerry, Buzz Aldrin, and Nick was saying politicians. And I'm thinking, well, what's the best way to get out of or escaping justice if these people are prosecuted in any kind of way for any kind of crimes against humanity? Okay, I'm just saying, any kind of crimes is to what? Maybe have a body double, have a clone, so that clone can go to prison. You can go off and live on an island somewhere, and change your identity.
Wow, makes sense. So I'm wondering, they probably, because clones are very expensive to make, so maybe they paid to have a clone made, right? Maybe the celebs are actually paying to have clones made. It's not their handlers making clones because they're so famous or popular. It's maybe they're paying to have a clone made so they can live this double life. I mean, again, another one we always speak about is definitely Kanye. I mean, Kanye, the tune he was singing before he went and dyed his hair pink and married that Australian girl, right? He was very different after that prison stint of his, or what? Not prison, psych ward or whatever. Yeah.
Yeezy. Yeezy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and he claimed, he told the public, he said, if I ever come back and I'm not, because he got very religious. Okay, he was on a very religious kick for a while, very Christian. Okay, and now he's like got, what does Bryce call it? Corn. Okay, he got into corn. You know what I mean? And things like that. And it was just, he said that if he ever came back not, preaching the gospel and whatnot, that was his clone, that they had cloned him. And that's kind of what happened. And he didn't look the same. He looked like he was all jacked up and had big muscles and stuff. And when he came back, and now they're saying, I saw a video the other day. They're like, oh, the real Yeezy's back. The real Kanye's back. And he was walking through an airport and he didn't have those big muscles and stuff anymore. It's just weird. So
it's so crazy, So despite all his singing like a little canary, he's still very, I mean, we know that anyway. I mean, they're all part of this shadowy world, but at least, they're giving people information, and at least people are hearing more about stuff. And I always say, then it's up to everyone to just practice their own discernment, right? Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're seeing a lot of strange things on television and on online, on the internet, in the music industry and in Hollywood and at presidential rallies as well.
Yeah. So tell us, I mean, and also I know, and I mean, I must say, I'm very glad the American election went off well.
Me too.
Yeah. And I think
Thank
there's a
God.
lot of changes that are going to be. Someone was actually telling me yesterday that is it Iran has wanting to step down already. Dollars increased, whatever. There's a whole lot of positive changes that have literally happened overnight. So let's pray that carries on.
It's a miracle. Anyway. It's a miracle. I mean, just overnight. I mean, the stock market went up, Bitcoin prices went. I mean, everything just skyrocketed, and for the positive. World peace happened overnight. To me, it's almost like, wow, it's almost like the world is such a stage, that's my take on it. But at the same time, it's great. I'm happy. I slept a little better the past couple of nights.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. We needed
going on.
Yeah. But okay. But we had a really rocky and rough past, I'm going to say about a year, okay, of just like political ads. Oh gosh, these political ads, and it was hard for me to watch YouTube because every 5 seconds I was getting a political ad. Okay, and they were, some of them you couldn't hit that skip button. There was no skip button, and I was getting really irritated because the majority of us already knew exactly who we were planning to vote for a long time ago, and there's no change in your mind once you know. I mean, this was a very polarized election, let's just say, and everybody picked a side. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not going to say what my side was. We don't talk politics, not on my channel, okay?
Yeah.
But you could guess. Okay, you could guess. and so the rallies. Okay, so I watched some of the rallies on the side that I voted for. Okay, but I watched the rallies. They were really interesting. And then I got a message one day that somebody was like, "Hey, did you see this at this Kamala Harris rally?" And I was like, "No, what is it?" And there was a video, and I had a screenshot. I took a screenshot of this guy who was sitting right behind her in the audience, and his eyes. Now, the person in the video was saying her, but I think it was a guy. I'm not sure. It looked like a man to me.
Is that one of the pics you sent me?
The guy with the wide eyes.
Should I pop it up?
Sure. There's an actual video of this, and this person that was sitting in that pink shoulder right there is actually Kamala, Vice President Harris, right there at her rally. Just imagine I'm her, my shoulder down.
Wow.
So she's sitting right here, and this guy is literally right behind her shoulder. Okay, right behind her shoulder, and
wow,
his eyes just start blinking out and then coming back. And Chantelle, like everybody's seen those videos of what look like they're reptilians, right? Their pupils turn into slits on camera, and a lot of times it's news anchors on television, live TV. Well, this person, their eyes kept shifting to white. And it looked, I've watched this a million times, and I kept trying to see if it was CGI or some kind of glitch. I have a show that's called Glitch in the Matrix. I'm always into glitchy stuff. I like to look into glitchy things, right? We are the glitch in the Matrix. But this person right here, their eyes were just really odd. And there were people, this went viral. Okay, it went viral. I think this rally was like 2 months ago. And I just got this like 2 weeks ago. I just got, somebody sent me this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I did a show on it the very next day because I thought this was really important. Okay, it's important. Like, what is this? Why is someone behind a presidential candidate glitching out on camera? Now, if nobody picked up on this, like it seems like somebody in her camp would have picked up on this and done something about it. Like, get that person off stage.
Exactly.
It just didn't seem right. And this goes on for quite a little while. during her speech.
What is was there any significance of the white eyes per se?
Well, some people say it was demonic. Okay, and let's just say I found a bunch of videos where people were analyzing this, and there was one video where they were changing the filters on the video to see if this was like CGI or if it was real, and it seemed to be real. On all the videos of people analyzing it, it seemed to be real. It was not messed with. And I actually sent it to a friend of mine who has been on my show before, who has a media company. He is my go-to for hoaxes. Okay, anything online, because, you know, as a Bigfoot encrypted field researcher, I get sent a lot of videos and a lot of stuff that could be questionable. And so I will ask his opinion on stuff. And I sent this to him, and he was like, whoa. I mean, in his, what he told me, we were messaging back and forth, and he goes, yeah, he was like, well, they're showing themselves now. That's what he said. And
I'm wondering if it's just glitching out, or if that was perhaps a deliberate attempt to either freak people out or just to see how well or how awake people are. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are fast asleep. I mean, as you say, how many people actually would have noticed that, right?
Yeah.
The minority, I'm sure. That's so crazy, though. Either way, it's crazy that that's happening.
It is. And this is still posted. This entire rally is still, you can find it online. You can go, if you have like TV, I don't have cable anymore, but if you have cable and you go back and it was like on C-SPAN or, you know, any of those networks that carry the presidential rallies, you can go back and find this. And it's like it's exactly 2 minutes after the vice president takes the stage. This happens.
Wow.
2 minutes, almost to the point of her taking the stage at that rally. And I think it's in Nevada, where we have, what is that, Area 51 is out there.
Yeah.
So
anything can happen there.
That's right. So, okay. I of course I start sending this video around to some of my expert friends. And I say that in quotes, expert. Some friends who I have that are, and hey, Dennis, they're friends who are, you know, maybe like potentially contractors and people that work in the government to some degree, people who might have some inside information. I sent this to some of them, and one of my people said, oh, that's an alien hybrid. And said it very matter-of-factly to me. And they said, that's an alien hybrid. They actually run our government. That's what he told me. So take that with a grain of salt.
I believe that. Do you not believe that, Jessica?
Yes. I do. I have no reason not to believe it at this point.
Well, I think we have enough evidence, just with what goes on in our governments and sort of the top echelon of people, as to what. Because we know that a human being does not do that kind of stuff. I'm sorry. That's not human, what a lot of them do. So I would say that is probably that hybrid thingy, whatever.
I think so too. I think it's some kind of hybrid. And now this is not something I was given as a remote viewing target. I got the information. I saw the video and I immediately did a show on it the next day. Just to get it out there. And
what was your response? Did anyone, I mean, I'd be interested to know if anyone came back with anything about, for sure it's happening, it's part of the program, whatever.
There was not one single debunk of it. No one had debunked it. Nobody. I still don't have a debunk of it. I have not seen a single thing. Now I haven't done any research in it over the past week or two. Okay. Ever since about a week after I did this, it kind of sizzled out, you know, and I moved on to other things. I'm kind of busy I'm looking into everything. So I kind of touch on something and then I move to the next thing. Okay. Because we have so much going on right now. So many incidences like this are going on where people, you know, there was an event, a red carpet event, and I haven't looked into this one yet, but I think it was Selena Gomez, tripped one of those chicks on the red carpet, I think it was her, she fell down, or she kind of twisted her ankle, her shoe came off, and it looked like something, instead of a foot, it looked like she had some kind of weird tail or something, like shape shifted right there on the red carpet. And that went viral. Yeah, that went viral this week. So I need to cover that.
I've got to go hunting for little Selena.
I think it was her. Yeah. So we're definitely going to have to, I keep my ear to the street. And so I'm always looking for more weird stuff, and people are always sending me clips of things. And it's just a matter of figuring out if it's, AI or if it's real. Okay. If this really did happen. And right now it's just really hard to tell. And that's why I am very blessed to have friends who do this for a living, who can tell if things are hoaxed. Yeah.
No, I fully agree. I fully agree with that. I fully agree that. And, that actually reminds me of something I saw not too long ago, where there was also some big sports event. They had these robot type things. And this guy's face, but you could see at the back that it was a robot. They had a couple in the crowd. They've done that, from what I can tell, a few times. And then I saw later on some YouTube video that the guy whose face they used for this AI robot is a live guy. And he's a living, normal dude. But when you give permission for these AI photograph things to take pictures of you and stuff like that, 99.9% of the people don't read the small print, because they can basically use your photograph then for anything. So what the whole thing was then, that they're using people's photographs who do these filter apps or whatever it is, and they're creating robots, or I wouldn't say they're clones. You can see these things are robots, but with human faces, and they're actually using people on the street, normal people that have given permission.
Okay, so I actually talked to him. I've talked to him. I reached out to him right after that happened. Like I said, I keep my ear to the street. Okay, and I found him and I tracked him down, and I sent him a message I asked him if he wanted to come on my show. And unfortunately, I don't have like a fund to pay people, and he wanted me to pay him. So sorry. I'm just a little podcast over here. So I did not have a donation fund to give him. But anyways, his name is like Haybell or Haystack or something on TikTok. And at that time, he was cashing in on it. I'm just gonna say, but yeah, he's okay. So he said that he dated a woman who was kind of like a millionaire. Okay, she had a lot of money. She was a businesswoman, and at some point he signed something, and he didn't know what he was signing. Like you said, there's some kind of contract, and I don't know, but it stemmed from him dating this woman, being with this woman who was like, had a lot of money. He wasn't really thinking. One day it was like some AI company or something. He just signed, and he got paid. Okay, I think he got paid. He got some kind of contract, but he didn't know what he was signing. And he said the next thing he knows, he's watching those. I think it was like the Rams game. It was like the Rams or some football game. So he was watching it, and he just saw himself. He saw his face on one of these robots, and he freaked out. And it did look just like him. It did. But he went on a campaign to let it be known. They took my image and they're using it. I mean, who's to say we're not all cloned? Like, what else they got in mind? Like, what did I sign that day? Read the fine print. And so, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I did talk to him. Yeah. I invited him on my show.
That's amazing. Well, I'm sorry that you didn't get him on your show.
Oh, it's okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
No, maybe one day I'll have a fund to pay people when they ask me to pay them to come on my show. But anyways, until then, I did it without him. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, though. That, they're also doing that. And again, it's about us also being a lot more cautious about what we do with our images, where we put them. I mean, listen, I think all of us have got our faces on some type of social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or IG or whatever it is, right? So pretty much everyone's out there, but ish. Man, oh man, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, the robots may be taking over, and they're going to try to put our faces on them. And if they're cloning people, obviously they can put your consciousness in another body, right? They can put them probably in a robot too. So
exactly. And I was also actually listening to something today where it's talking about these AI like Alexa and Siri, I think it is, right? And how much more intelligent they're becoming, because the more they obviously engage with human consciousness and the more people ask questions and the things they ask, the way they ask them, the more that their vocabulary, as well as the way that the information they give, that becomes more intelligent. So that's all based off human consciousness. So they're working off our intelligence all the time anyway. And they're like creating just one big intelligent machine that is based off human consciousness anyway, and that they're now being able to manipulate. That's my opinion. So it's quite crazy. Wow.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking of all the personal information I used to put on my Facebook back when they first opened Facebook. And I got one back in 2006 or 7, I think I got on there. And I used to just put anything on there. I can't believe I did that. I feel like I feel violated. Okay.
Did you violate yourself?
I did. I put too much information. TMI. I put TMI on there.
Isn't that the worst thing when you do it to yourself?
I'm just glad that we didn't have Facebook when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. Okay, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.
I'm very, very happy that there was no cameras or video cameras in the days I was partying as a student.
Yeah, me too. Me too. No camera phones back then. Thank God. If we took pictures, it was with a disposable camera that we could just grab it and throw it in the garbage when we needed to. Okay.
Exactly. Those instant photos.
Lord.
And didn't you have the normal camera and you had to put like a flash bulb on top of it?
Yeah.
And then your eyes go red. You look like Satan himself.
Oh my gosh, the red eyes. Everybody had red eyes back then too in all the pictures. I remember that. And
exactly.
The good old days.
That was the worst. That was the worst thing. That eventually you got the cameras that now would not give you red eyes, but you had the best picture, and there you were with red eyes, right?
You know, I saw a meme or something one day, and this guy was like, my kid found my box of all the pictures from the 1990s tucked away and was asking me why everybody had red eyes. He was like, that was from the demon uprising of 1994.
Yeah, my son sees a picture of me holding him on my lap. He's like 6 months old or something, So there he was. He says, but he looks at this photograph. He says, "Who's that?" I said, "It's me." He says, "Is that your hair?" I said, "Yes." He says, "What were you thinking, Mom? What the hell were you thinking?" I said, "Boy, it was the 80s. Give me a break."
Oh gosh, we all had the poofy hair and hairnet, or the what do you call it, Aquanet with the hairspray and bangs, and
absolutely the bigger the hair, the better. Yeah,
the hair stuck out the hair. Yeah, I actually had the wave. I always like I pulled my hair up really high and I sprayed it with hairspray, so I had like that big wave took up like that.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Spiking. And the more spiking you could make it, the happier you were.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sure we did. Speaking of the demon uprising of 1994.
It starts in 1984. It started in 1984, I'll have you know.
Right? 1984. Well, speaking of the demon uprisings beginning in 1984, back in January of 2016, there were some guys who were hiking in the Catskill Mountains, and they were up in, which is actually the New England area of the United States, up in the very top northeastern side of the country. in New York. Okay, New York, but not New York, New York. The Catskill Mountains up there. There were two guys that were hiking, and they went caving. So they went inside of a cave, and they did something that I would never do. Never. They said that they found a doll, like an effigy, that somebody had carved out of wood. The thing had nails in its eyes and a noose around its neck. And what did they do? They put it in their backpack and took it home with them.
Can do this thing yet?
Yes, the picture I sent. Yes, it's that. They found this in the Catskill Mountains. Now, the reason this went public is because they posted, one of the guys posted it on Reddit back in 2016, and he told the story about how they had found this statue while they were hiking and exploring, and they took it home. And when it got to, he took it to his apartment or to his house, and all of a sudden, all these frightening manifestations started happening. He was getting injured. This doll, they called it I'm going to call it a doll, okay, but this effigy, it started moving around the house. And so it would go from room to room to room to room by itself. There were shadow figures showing up in his house. I mean, it was like very demonic. It turned out to be, his house started getting negatively influenced by this effigy. And so he wanted to get rid of it. Okay, he wanted to get rid of it. So these two people, I think they're a couple, I'm not sure, but Greg and Dana, Greg Newkirk and Dana, they took this doll. Okay, they had some kind of paranormal ODYSEE kind of museum. I'm not sure if it's a traveling museum or what, but they have some kind of paranormal museum. And so they took this doll. You hear about cursed dolls. Ed and Lorraine Warren had Annabelle that looked like the Raggedy Ann doll. They made movies about that called The Conjuring. Yes. And the movie Annabelle. Those are creepy movies. I actually had a Raggedy Ann doll that looked just like that. And so yeah, that ruined my childhood looking back at that. But they took in this effigy with the nails in its eyes and the noose around its neck, and they started having the same manifestations in their home that the first guy had. So and they ended up naming this the crone of the Catskills, or the Catskill crone, because they said that they woke up, I think Dana woke up one night and saw something manifesting in the corner of the room, and it looked like an old crone, like an old witch. So that's where they got the name. Actually, the quote is, when there were things that looked like wet footprints showing up on the back of the couch, or we were hearing strange noises, or Dana has this horrifying encounter with something that looks like it's slinking out of the closet at night, it's hard to ignore. Okay, so of course, my buddy Barry Littleton decided to give me this as a remote viewing target. Thanks, Barry. Okay. And
Barry's in the chat anyway. So
is Barry here? Thanks, Barry, if you're in here. It was so I remote viewed this, and it was a blind target. And gosh, I got to tell you, the data was wild, and it goes right along with what they said this thing did and what it was. Now I'll go down a few of the key points as to some of the things that this doll did to the people who owned it. Okay, so it knocked over furniture. It knocked over a crucifix on the wall, and it broke the arms off the crucifix, and the nails actually came out of the wall, and they never found the nails. The nails they probably ended up in the eyeball, but I don't know. But they said they never found the nails. Anyone that touched this thing or even looked at it the wrong way got very sick, which they said it was just like Robert the doll. There's a doll that has been featured on a bunch of TV shows. You don't talk down to it, or else you get sick. So one person actually touched this thing, and they had seizures, and they had to go to the hospital. And anyone else that touched it, their skin would burn wherever they touched it. And so they created a no touching rule. Eventually, this museum said, "Screw it, we don't want this thing anymore." They put it in a pillowcase, and they tucked it away until they could take it back to the original cave. Now, before they took it back to this cave, these other fellas, Carl Pfeiffer and Connor Randall, made a 3D print of the exact object. So they made a replica of it in their 3D printer because they wanted to do an experiment on this thing to see if they took the original back to the cave and they kept this one, would the demonic entity or whatever was attached to this thing, would it stay with the object or would it go back with the original? And they did some experiments. From what I understand, the 3D printed one was just as haunted as the original. And it caused just as much problems as the original.
I was going to say that was really, I would imagine that if you're replicating something like that in that way, you would definitely take on that energy as well. So I would imagine now you just cloned it. You just cloned it, right?
Yes, they cloned it. There's Barry. I see Barry in your chat. Hey, Barry. And Dennis and Barry are in here today. What's up?
Yeah.
A lot of our folks are in here today. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry's one that gave me the target.
You got a star-studded audience. What can we say?
We do. Barry says, for some reason, I kept picking up the kappa with that statue. There was a connection with the pond smell and footprints. Yeah, okay, so everywhere the statue would go, they said that it smelled like a wet pond, like a rotten pond or some kind of like stale water, which is never good, you know. And Dennis, who's in the chat, he's a demonologist. And I believe Dennis has told us before that sometimes whenever there's something demonic going on, it smells like wet wood too. Yeah. I think Dennis is the one that told me that. But wow. Yeah, rotting like wet wood. So, and the kappa, in case people are wondering what the kappa is, that's actually a cryptid out of Japan. And it looks like it's almost like we made a connection to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it kind of looks like a turtle, but it's a humanoid and it walks on two legs. They are known to swim in the ponds, the rivers, any kind of body of water, and it will grab humans and eat them. It eats body parts. And it also has this like cup on top of its head. It looks like Friar Tuck. If you know who Friar Tuck is with the hair, it's like the hair goes around their head and he's like bald on top. And the top of his head is a bowl. You know, they have to keep this water inside the top of their bowl, like on top of their head. It's really weird. Wow.
That's amazing.
But, yeah, those are the kappas. It goes back in long way in legend and lore of Japan.
Did you say the kappas?
The kappas. How do you spell that? Kappa, kappa.
Wow.
Yeah. So Barry had made that connection there. But okay, so he gave me this target. He just gave me some numbers and he told me, he said, be sure you protect yourself with extra protection on this one energetically. Because he didn't tell me anything about it. He just said, do extra protection before you go into this target. And so I immediately, when I started this session, I picked up on magic and magician, the devil. Okay, I wrote the devil, arcana and the arcane, deep thought. I mean, I was picking up on light versus dark. Okay, light versus dark. It was just very much a magic. Like I was picking up on like dark magic. Okay, with whatever I was remote viewing, it was full of just. It's kind of evil. Okay, I'm going to say evil, but dark. Dark would be a better way to put it. But with the devil, light versus dark, and I kept getting all this like really dark data, like demonic kind of data. But then I was analyzing it on one side of my chart where I analyze what I'm experiencing. I kept like my soul kept trying to make it light, like make it good, because I kept writing down like God wins. Okay, God wins. You know that, you know, the tides are turning, like everything's going to be okay. But I was getting all this while I was getting all this data that was like demonic. Okay, so I just thought that was interesting. Wow. I do believe that there's and I was also getting something that was like shackled and chained, and something that was kind of like being conjured or being held somewhere. So let me tell you what's really cool, I guess, is that Dana and is it Greg? Greg and Dana, the people who had that museum, they made a documentary about this thing called The Unbinding. Okay, The Unbinding. You can find it on Tubi and I think Amazon Prime, maybe Netflix. It's called The Unbinding, and it's all about this effigy. Yeah, I just picked up like that it was some sort of, it was almost like a, I want to say voodoo, even though that's, I don't want to use that word loosely, but it's like a voodoo doll.
Yes, so there would be some type of entity that now obviously is embodying that doll, whatever it might be, right? So, yes. I mean, I would imagine that it's taken control of, so it's not always been part of, but you never know. Maybe when it was made or when the statue was carved or whatever it was then part of already. Who knows? But wow, that's incredible. But you hear stuff like that. I must say, in Africa, there's a lot of that sort of stuff with a lot of the statues and the masks and things. You look at these African masks that people love to, when they come to Africa, that's one of the things. Often people will buy those different African masks. And I mean, to look at them, I mean, it's really beautiful, just in the sense that how they are expressed, right? But they are very, very often possessed. So I would not long ago, I just felt, you know, when I travel around Africa, I love buying African artifacts and stuff. But long ago have I looked at these things and I'm not touching you. You can feel there's stuff in it. Definitely.
Well, you know what that reminds me of? Speaking of shapeshifters, it reminds me of, well, it reminds me of a lot of stuff, but that movie called The Mask with Jim Carrey back in the 1990s. You know, he would put that mask on. It was some kind of tribal mask, and he would put it on, and he would turn into another. It was like he got possessed.
Yeah, total change of character. Total change. Like the mask had a life of its own. So, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. And even a skinwalker. And I'm not going to say that word much more, I promise. But that, you know, putting on the pelt of an animal or any kind of a mask. And embodying whatever that mask is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's exactly, and I think we spoke not too long ago. I'm sure I was speaking to you about it. Again, back in Africa, there are certain animals, for example, like the leopard, with certain of the African tribes. They have to kill a leopard, and then they keep the pelt, and then that spirit of that leopard, and that's you find this for royal people, the royalty, and special guests or special people in their opinion, whoever, you know, is worthy of that. So they embody the spirit of that leopard as well. So they take on the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and often in war times, in the bush wars, that was well known. They do that in the bush wars, here in Africa. They would definitely take on the spirit of the animal, and then they do what the animal does. That's how they get by.
Oh, so I've talked about that with the Vikings too. They had the berserkers back in the day, and those men would put on the skin of a bear, or usually it was a bear. Okay. And I just happened to have a bear skin here at home. And I tried to put it on before my show. I did a show on that about the berserkers and the Viking werewolves too. They're supposed to be Viking werewolves. And I was going to wear my bear skin, and I had the bear's head on my head. And right before the show, my dog went crazy and tried to eat it. So I had to take it off for the show because I knew that wasn't going to work. Okay, with my dog barking, because it's a real bear skin. Okay.
I would imagine you probably would have had a lot more the dog barking at you from people on your show. What are you doing? You're a bear killer.
I know, right? I know. And the fact that it's a bear, I feel kind of bad too. But yeah, I do have a bear skin. My mom's best friend gave us that bear skin, and I can't put it anywhere because my dog hates it. Every dog I've ever had cannot stand that bear skin. It smells, it's a real bear skin. So they think that it's still a living bear, I guess. I don't really know it's not there, but the skin's there.
I would imagine.
I just hate it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, don't upset your dog, Jessica.
Well, she's a German Shepherd. She's a big dog. So when she barks, it rings out through the whole neighborhood. And so she's loud. And I certainly couldn't have that for my show that night. So, but yeah, when you put it, when the bear zerkers, they would put on the skin of the bear, the pelt, and also through ritual, through even psychedelics, like drinking mushroom teas and things like that, and plant medicine, let's just call it.
Yeah.
And they would kind of go out of their minds, through chanting and rituals and plant medicine and whatever else, and just sheer adrenaline. They would go nuts and become berserkers, and you didn't want to mess with an army of berserkers. You didn't.
Exactly.
They were wild.
Because they also take on the spirit of the bear, don't they? Whatever bear pelt they're wearing, they then would invoke the spirit of that bear, and they would literally be able to do sort of what do you call it when they not walking or they're bouncing or whatever it might. What's the word when they don't have their feet on the ground? Bouncing around.
I don't know.
Yeah, but they take on the energy and they of that animal or the bear literally, and then so you're fighting this supernatural power actually, because they're not really humans, right? So the berserkers would really be they're having taken on that supernatural power from the animal.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that they may have, from what I was told, because I had my friend Tom on the show that night, we talked about the berserkers, and he is actually a sniper. Okay, he's a sniper in the military, the army, and I'm up until recently, I'm not sure if he still does like work for them or whatever. I'm not sure what else he does, but he's had to do hand-to-hand combat before, where he said that he is actually Viking heritage, a literal Viking. He looks like a Viking, and I think he said, I think you and I talked about it because I did the Cheyenne Dogman show, and that's the show that I'm referring to. We're talking about the Cheyenne Dogman, and he's actually Cheyenne and half Viking, a Nordic descent, and so he's the one. He said that he actually had to, literally in battle, when he was doing his sniper work with the military, he had to go into hand-to-hand combat to defend his life. And he said that he blacked out like that. Like it was like a berserker type of a deal where he doesn't remember what happened, but he did walk away with his life. Okay. So he lived. I don't think the other guy did, but he did. Okay. Now he didn't give details, so I don't know for sure what happened, but he said that he had to, he blacked out. It was like in a rage, because your body goes into that mode. He wasn't wearing a bear skin. He wasn't wearing a bear skin.
I was going to say, it's like what Dennis is saying here as well. It's because I would imagine that when that spirit or that soul of the bear takes over, you do black out. It's kind of like some type of mind control as well, because when you dissociate, a lot of the times people don't remember. I mean, they come back, they've got blood on their hands. They don't know where they've been. They come back, they've got grease on their hands. They don't know where they've been. So I would imagine this would have been something similar as well, yeah?
Yes. Yeah,
and it's true what you're saying. It's like, to wear the fur of the animal, they do get that power. And I know, they still believe that, I don't know if it's the whole spirit or part of the spirit remains with that person and embodies that person. And they literally take on like those characteristics of the leopard, where they just leopard crawl, literally, and appear out of nowhere. Like, where did you just come from?
Wow. Some of the guys on my Bigfoot team used to call me the honey badger. So I need to, embody. I must have at some point to them, I was embodying the spirit of the honey badger at some point. So I don't know. That's a little fun fact for everybody who's watching who knows me. Don't mess with the honey badger. Okay.
It's a tough little creature. So the honey badger knows her shite. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I guess Yeah, I mean, I had a lot more data, of course, to this thing, this little thingamajiggy. What is it? The Catskill crone. Okay, I had a lot of data, but it basically just all kind of fell in line with what people assumed it was. Okay, it was cursed, just a cursed object. Now, I personally, if I see something like that in the woods, in a cave, Shanti, I'm not touching it. I mean, would you touch something like that if you came across something with nails in its eyes?
I mean, especially the nails in the eyes would be a dead giveaway. That right there would be the first red flag, right? I mean, I know many of us think red flags are a carnival waiting to happen, but that's a red flag. I don't want to go. I wouldn't know. Definitely not. For sure not.
No. Yeah, let it be a word of caution to everyone watching. Don't touch something that has nails in the eyes and a noose around its neck. Like an effigy in the woods. Just please don't. Please don't. Yeah, you don't know where that thing's been and what it's got attached to it.
Exactly. You'd find me walking seriously large circles around that thing. That's for sure. Wow. It's true, Katie. I'd run too. Don't you worry.
Yes, run from it, please. I'd be more worried about finding that in the woods than I would a Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, don't you get scared now, because you're gonna have to remote view me when I get lost, because I'm bound to get lost with my portal hunting.
Your portal. I'll find you. I'll stick my team on it. We'll find you. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I feel so safe. I swear I feel so safe. So thank you for that.
We'll come get you out of the 5D and above. We'll find you. Yeah. Wherever you're at.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Do you have anything else for us, young lady?
Oh, man. I mean, I've got all sorts of stuff. I mean, I was thinking after we talked about my friend, my celebrity friend. I got a few celebrity friends, but Dinko that came on, we were talking about the cloning. He did also mention, because I asked him about vampires. I almost forgot to mention this. He did say that he knows some. He believes that he knows some real life vampires too that live in New York and stuff. So that's a show for another. That's a topic for another show probably. Or the vampires.
Yeah, I'm just interested. How do the real life vampires, from what he's saying, how do they get their blood? What do they do?
Good question. I don't know. He joked around about how he was a vampire for a second. I was like, oh no, don't say that on my show. People are going to believe you. They're going to think you're a real vampire. He was joking, of course, but I was like, oh, be careful. We're going to think you're one.
Don't want that in my mouth. No, thank you. Can't be dealing with that at all. No. Wow, that's incredible, though. Because I think on some of our shows that we've spoken with Jessie about the vampires and stuff, it's not like they're necessarily going, that might be the shadow type, really vampirish thing. But the way they do it otherwise, like Johnny Depp and the boys. Johnny Depp was mentioned as well as a vampire, and the other actor, the tall one,
Nicolas Cage. He's one. Yeah.
I think little Amber Heard, as well, I heard, as part of that clan as well. And they were like, they literally drain the girls' blood. They get their groupies and things on their music concerts and music tours. And what they do is they drain. It's like a blood transfusion. And they'll literally take the blood out in that way, and that's how they get their fix from those girls.
Oh, the groupies, roadies, what do you call them? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's horrible. Groupies. The groupies, yeah, don't be a groupie. Okay, it's not. Yeah, unless you want to be an immortal groupie, you can probably be immortal. I don't know. That's really sad. And, I was just watching, I was flipping through social media this morning, and I was seeing that our new, under the new president that we're going to have here come January, well, he's actually an old president coming back. His border czar is what they're calling him. He had made a statement that they're going to find the 350,000 missing children of the people who, from what I was reading, that had crossed the border Okay, if you know what I mean. And there were a bunch of children that are missing right now, and were making a commitment to finding where those children went and stuff too. And and I have to wonder, my mind goes straight to, underground vampirism and all that kind of stuff. So I pray that that's not what's happened, of course. But
yeah, there's so many ways. Oh, I pray that too. There's so many different ways. I want to, Yvonne, I mean, what's your take on this, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. There are more energy vampires than there are blood-sucking vampires.
Yeah.
And we all know of energy vampires. We've all been energy vampires at some point. All of us, every single person, without knowing it. I mean, how many times have you been having a great day, and then you answer the phone and it's somebody, and you're just like, oh, and you talk, and you're feeling good, and they're in like a really, really bad mood, and then it's like an energy transfer happens where when you hang up, you feel depleted and drained, and they sound really happy. And you hang up the phone, and you're just completely, it's like your battery got drained. Or just in real life, even when you go into a store and you're around people, I firmly believe that there are certain people here on Earth right now who are of a higher vibrational frequency, and those people are meant to go to places to be a battery for people who need it sometimes. And that's my belief. And and so they get drained because there's certain people who know how to replenish when others don't, and I know that may sound kind of weird. So it's a give and take of energy, a lot of energy exchanges, but there's some people who prey on people, and that includes podcast hosts. Not us. I'm not saying we do, but I know of some that they're just constant drama and attacking people and keeping people on the edge of their seats all the time. And I've even they tried to suck me into it at one point. And the best thing that I ever did was ignore it. Okay. Ignore it, because my energy is way too, I was going to say it's too expensive. No, it's just
precious.
It's not expensive.
Precious.
Precious is the word. That's not the right word. It's not expensive. I'm not selling my energy. Okay. But it's too precious. It's, energy is our biggest commodity. It's more valuable than gold. Okay. Absolutely. So protect your energy at all costs. There are predators out there preying off people's energies. And so protect yours. Protective energy bubbles, everybody, especially before you go in the grocery store in Walmart.
And it's so true. But there's also stuff like this, I often speak about the sleep paralysis, right? Because oftentimes people will complain about sleep paralysis and they don't know what is causing it. That's literally energy vampires, because when you go to bed at night and if you are unprotected and your energy is full of holes, I call it Emmentaler cheese. If you remember, your aura is a projection of what's happening within you. So when someone looks at your aura and it's got chunks of holes out of it, right? I call it looking like Emmentaler cheese. That's really because of what's going on inside of you. And if there's holes in your energy, so to speak, that's when these predator things come after you. I don't care what they are. It's like they smell blood and they're going to go for you. And then that sleep paralysis, they'll often surround you, and then they literally sucking off your energy while you're sleeping and vulnerable. And that's what you're going to find a lot. And as you say, just in general, take care of yourself, but it's up to you to make sure that you don't have leaks in your energy. It's like a lion, a lion is just being a lion. He's going to hunt for his prey. That's what a lion does. That's what these predators do. They're there to prey on your energy. And it's like a tick or a flea. It's there to suck your blood, right? So basically, make sure you're protected. Make sure that there aren't holes in the fence where they can come through. And that's up to you to make sure that you are in your alignment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've been fed upon, by energy vampires. I was married to one, actually. And I literally, I don't know, I barely got out of that relationship intact. alive, like literally, because the entire life had been drained out of me. And I was I was literally a shell of who I once was. And so, that's one of those experiences like where, you live with them. It's almost like I had to experience that because I didn't know what my future held. And like today I'm doing this, here publicly with you, we talk about these things, and I never in a million years thought I'd be doing this, but I had to experience that. I had to experience like the worst of the worst, and to be drained to an inch of my life, literally, is what it felt like, to be able to recognize it now and know what's happening and who's who. I mean, I feel like I've got those sunglasses on from that movie They Live, and I can see it. I see clearly. I can smell it before it gets to me. I know it. I can recognize it. I know the MO. And now, but here's a sad thing, is like I see people and I'm like, okay, well, that's a demon. Okay, like I can see, I'm like, to me, like I just I don't classify people as demons. Okay, don't get me wrong on that, but I'm just like, I look back now and I have the eyes to see now. Okay, because I went through it.
Exactly, and that's why you have to go through it, because that's what gives you the eyes to see, to experience something and to come out of it on the other side. Interesting. I wonder if you've come across any of this, Jessica. Do vampires choose what type of blood a person has? I mean, that's an interesting question. I've actually wondered that myself. Do they go after specific energies or entities?
I've been told they do. I've been told they do, but I don't know. That's why I never have said my blood type ever. I don't talk about it because I don't know. Listen, I'm out there chasing, cryptids in the woods. I don't need vampires knowing what blood type I am. Okay. So, nobody's ever going to know.
They come and munch on me. Well, the mosquitoes definitely like my blood. So someone at least does.
You're sweet. You got that sweet blood. I know.
Totally sweet.
Yeah, me too. That's funny.
Anyway, wow. That's quite cool. Wow. Werewolf just wants to shed our fur. Okay. Azrael Crowley is a werewolf.
A werewolf. They just want to shed his. Yes.
Yeah.
Some people, you need to get brushed every now and then. You need to get
and a scratch, and your tummy rubbed.
Yes, exactly. You need to go get groomed.
Off to the pet parlor with you. Behave today. To the poodle parlor.
The only way to upset him is to get the clippers out. Okay? I'm just kidding.
Oh
for his nails. I know, I'm kidding.
Jessica. Indeed. Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm excited. Do you have anything more for us tonight, or are we gonna
I guess that's about it for tonight. We'll save it for the next time I come on, a couple weeks. We'll have some more to talk about, and yeah, it's always so much fun coming and hanging out with you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so definitely having you back. I'm coming on your show soon. And guys, it's my last night in Namibia. So I'm going to pack now. I've just finished my last appointment as well, just before Jessica. So you are my last show, yeah? I'm being picked up at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning to toddle off to Windhoek. And then I'm flying back to Johannesburg to see my grandbaby for a few days. And then I'll be home on about the 20th or so. So take care, everybody. And I've missed seeing you too, Jojo. I've missed all of you, I know. Jessie was actually, just for those of you who watch Jessie's shows, she was off last week, not feeling great. I'm traveling a lot of this week, but we are going to make up for the show. So just watch the show. I mean, watch the show. Yeah, watch all the shows, but watch the space as well. Jessica, it's such a pleasure having you, and I really look forward to having you back again. So is there anything you want to just say in closing before we bid each other farewell?
Well, I hope you have a safe trip. I know you'll have a safe trip, but I always tell my audience before I say goodbye, I say, keep your head on a swivel. Okay, your heart wide open and your head on a swivel. watch your back. Okay. But I know you'll have safe travels and enjoy your time, on vacation and with your grandbaby. I'm so excited for you. And, yeah,
I know.
it's wonderful. I love being here, hanging out with you.
So do I, and we look forward to many more hangout sessions. Take care, everybody, and everyone who's joined us in the chats, and my beautiful Spanner girls, Jojo and Lisa D. I think you're there. It's you guys, you ladies tonight. Jojo, just to let you know, I will email you back very, very soon. Okay, everybody, God bless you all. Take good care. And thank you so much for making our shows such fun. Because without you, we wouldn't be able to have fun like this. Take care, everybody. See you soon.